Welcome to the 7th episode of Unfortunately, I Read Books. In this episode, we actually have our first interview, and it was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. It was with Nick Hutchison, and Nick is the co-founder of BookThinkers, a social platform and environment for readers that are united by passion of unbounded learning and self-improvement. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and he loves to read. So let's get right into it. Nick, let me know a little bit about what's the mission or the philosophy of BookThinkers.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little backstory on BookThinkers. I actually started BookThinkers about a year ago because coming out of college, I didn't think that I was reaching my full potential intellectually with the material that I was learning in college. So after I graduated college, I thought to myself, wow, there must be a better way to consume information. We were learning about some academic people and some good personalities, sometimes about entrepreneurs, but I started to read books, and I started to find that if you wanted to learn as much as you can about these people, you can read about them. They've all poured their hearts and souls and successes and failures into the pages of books, and that's really how I got started. I started reading about all of these people you had heard about. The Tony Robbins and the Richard Bransons of the world, successful entrepreneurs and personalities. And what happened was I actually started reading so much that it was hard to retain the information I was reading, because I would read a 300, 400, 500-page book each and every week. I'd learn all these successful things that I'd like to implement into my life. And somebody would say, oh, tell me about that book you read 6 months ago or a year ago. And I had layered so much information on top of it that I almost started to forget, and I forgot to implement things. So I started writing physical notes, but I realized I wasn't actually checking them. So the original foundation for BookThinkers was to build a platform that would provide visibility for your friends and families and followers to see what you're reading, what you thought of those books, and also to read your biggest takeaways. So that was number one, so that I didn't have to keep answering that question so much, But then number two was that the system could actually systematically remind me of that information over time. So let's say that I read something from Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, great iconic book. And let's say that the point that I wanted to remember was that 96% of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat any indexed average over 15 years. Well, if I just wrote that down in a notebook and here I am 2 years later, I wouldn't have remembered that line. But the reason I remember it is because I put it into BookThinkers, and it reminds me every 2 weeks to read those notes. So I read through those notes, I flex that neural pathway a little bit more often, and therefore I'm able to retain more information, and I'm able to put more of it into my life. So that's kind of how BookThinkers started. And our mission, kind of in one line, is really to provide an exciting environment for readers that are united by a passion of unbounded learning and self-improvement, people that just want more out of what they're reading. So that's a little bit about BookThinkers.
Yeah, I kind of, because I've been playing around with your book platform, BookThinkers, and I've seen that you have like book notes, and you can put the time frame you want, those reminders. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I've never seen this type of feature on other platforms.
Yeah, BookThinkers, it's a startup. It is absolutely bootstrapped. It's all, I work with two of my friends, and we just put some money in there to get the thing started. And we saw such a good initial reaction from people that identified a real need for what we were doing that we started to put more development resources into it, and we've continued to develop the web platform. We actually have a mobile platform, both iOS and Android, coming out in just about 4 weeks from now, maybe a little bit less than that. So we're really excited for the platform to continue growing. And the best part about this for me is that, number one, I'm helping people retain more information from what they're reading and encouraging people to find their next book, to set goals, to participate in group challenges and earn badges. and it's very rewarding for me to do so. So I'm really excited about it, and we'll kind of watch it continue to grow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the badges feature. You know, I seen you had one like a billionaire reader, 52 books, the Shark Tank one. The one I want to get is the Clouds and Dirt, read all the Gary books. So,
Yeah.
So what's the idea behind this whole badges?
Yeah, so the idea behind the badges is that there's a term called gamification. And gamification is basically a philosophy that you can apply to any business model or service that adds a little bit of a game feature to it. So you could almost consider it playing a video game. Like you're achieving awards, you're kind of leveling up. So the idea behind this is that if you have a couple friends on here that are also readers, you want to compete. You want to see who's going to earn more badges. And all of the badges that we have on here, for the most part, are constructive, and they're going to make you a better person. They're going to educate you. So the idea on here is to apply that gamification and allow buddies or friends or even competitors to kind of say, you know what, I have more badges than you do. I put more time into self-education and personal development, and I'm applying these things in real life. And we're absolutely open to any suggestions. This is a very raw feature of the site. I think we have probably about 30 of them on there right now, maybe a little bit less than that, but we're open to suggestions, and we're excited to hear what people want to be reading and what people would like to earn badges for doing.
Yeah, I also like, dabbling around the recommendations feature, like on the right side. It's pretty good. It's actually already suggested some books that I wasn't even aware of, and I was like, wow. And then, I put it on my want list.
Yeah, what's pretty funny about that is that just like Amazon or Goodreads would do, we're able to understand what you're reading and then what Amazon would be recommending you read after that. So I think on the homepage we recommend 10 books, and if you refresh, it'll recommend some different books. Sometimes they overlap, but I've had the same reaction actually. I've read many books that I didn't know they existed just because of this site over the last couple months. It's kind of addicting. You'll see a book, oh wow, that looks interesting, and it's related to this book that I really liked, and in same genre, maybe even similar author. And it's triggered me to read a lot of books.
Yeah, my list is getting it's too ridiculous.
Yeah. So hey, it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Oh, you're right. So tell me a little bit. I've done challenges before, but I've never done a group challenge. How does that work?
Yeah, so group challenge is a new feature to the site. And basically, when you select a new challenge, there are two different types of challenges. You can say, number one, who is the first to read X number of books in a certain genre, or it could be all genres, starting on a specific date. So let's say you and I wanted to enter a friendly challenge. Who's going to read the most self-help books starting on this date? And you can kind of see a little interactive leaderboard of who's reading books in that genre and how many they've read. And it's a way to encourage people to invite their friends onto the site in a little bit of friendly challenge. It's another form of gamification. If you can get people to view reading in personal development not as something that's dry and boring, but as something that, well, maybe it's a little exciting. Maybe it gets the juices flowing because there's a little bit of competition in there. That's something that we'd like to certainly help facilitate. So we just want reading to become more fun, more interactive. So when you have the mobile application, let's say that you're in a group challenge, who can read the most books in the next 10 weeks? Well, each and every time somebody shifts above you in the leaderboard or you get above somebody else, it'll push a notification to everybody's phones through their mobile application saying, hey, Alex just finished X book and now he's leading this challenge. And I mean, that's something that I look down at my phone and let's say maybe I'm lounging at the pool or I'm watching TV, and that's going to be a trigger, an external trigger in my brain to say, hey, go read. And that's something we want to help facilitate. We want people to realize what's going to help them in life versus what's not going to help them in life. And I think that some notifications and group challenges, I think that that'll be one way that we can help people do that.
No, it works. I have a Fitbit, and I'm part of a weekly challenge. And
I'm the same way.
Yeah, and sometimes like my brother-in-law is beating me, and I'm like, oh, I tell my wife I gotta go and walk. Like he's beating me, which is good. It's forcing me to walk more, and so yeah, it works.
Yeah, for any listeners that are familiar with Fitbit, that's actually where the idea came from. I participate in a lot of weekly hustle or weekend hustle challenges, work week hustle, weekend hustle, whatever they're called, and they're a lot of fun. So they promote a healthy activity. In that case, exercise. In this case, reading. Yeah, for sure.
And Nick, any books you currently reading?
Yeah, so I just finished Crushing It last week by Gary Vaynerchuk. I have nothing but phenomenal things to say about Gary Vaynerchuk, and in that book specifically, I think it's updated. I think it's very relevant, and if you're not playing in the digital economy, then you're going to lose. So Gary has a great mindset around that. I really did enjoy that book. And then I also just finished up yesterday, and I'm going to post a review on some of our social media accounts for Rise and Grind by Damon John. And Damon John has always been somebody that I've looked up to because of Shark Tank. He has a great story, coming from nothing, ending up with everything. He gives back a lot. And some of the big takeaways from that book for me was, number one, the time will never be perfect, so you'll have to make perfect use of your time. And there really is an opportunity cost to every activity that you do, right? I mean, if you're not reading, what are you doing? If you're watching TV, you're not learning something. So it's a fun notion to play around with. And then another big one for me, just from that book, was that success is not a destination. I think oftentimes people say to themselves, well, I just need to wait for the right partner, or I need to find my way by continuing down a path I'm already on. And that's not true. It's really an outcome. It's at the end of the equation. You put in activity, you put in reading and exercise, and you use your activity day to day to go forward in a specific direction, and success is an outcome. So I think that was another great takeaway from that book that I'm reading. What about you? What are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading Crushing It also, and because I like to read like 2 to 3 books at a time. Mm-hmm. And the other one is Jeffrey Gittimore, the little red book of selling. Mm-hmm. It's just I've seen a lot of people like that book, and but the two books a smart guy. Yeah, he has good books. The 2 books you're reading are helping you get a badge, the Shark Tank badge and the Clouds and Dirt badge. Oh, you finished?
Yeah. I like to read based off of the badges. I mean, I'm a little biased because I get to create the badges.
Yeah, that's true.
But they're all best-selling books that are very relevant to people today. And just to throw a couple other books out there, I'm also reading 3 books on mindfulness right now. So one book I actually just finished it up. It's called Autobiography of a Yogi, and it has a lot to do with meditation and mindfulness and yoga, and it follows one person's life. And then I'm reading a book called Be Here Now, which Steve Jobs recommended. Be Here Now, same thing, a lot of meditation, a lot of Eastern philosophy, and I find all of that very interesting.
Yeah, Gary Vee's really big into mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So what is your 2018 challenge for yourself? How many books and how far along are you?
Yeah, so my current challenge for 2018 is 100 books.
Nice.
And that could be out of any genre. And I am on pace, so we're about 6 weeks into that, and I've read 14 books so far.
Oh, wow.
And I have 2 that I'll be coming across today that I'll probably finish up because, like you, I read a couple books at the same time. I like your 30-minute versus hour book. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I probably do that subconsciously without realizing it. I have one book for longer periods of time and one that I kind of read in short spurts.
Yeah, that's more for the analytical type person, that you need like a time frame and you like stick to it, or like a process.
Yeah, no, and it does work. So what's interesting about BookThinkers is that you can have multiple challenges running at the same time. So let's say that I wanted to break down out of those 100 books, I wanted 10 to be in the business and money genre, 10 to be in the self-help genre, 10 to be in whatever genre it is. So you can kind of have those you can have your big overarching goal, but then you can also have one that's broken down by genre underneath it, so you can be contributing to multiple challenges at the same time. It's a fun way to break it down.
Nice. I also seen that you do book reviews on Instagram, like videos. Like I saw one on crushing it and extreme ownership.
Yeah, so that actually started out on Facebook. So I think we've done 14 of those so far. And it's just another form of content for people to take in 5 lessons from a book. So we've done 14 of those so far. The 15th one will be posted today. And I think that they've gotten some pretty good interaction. And Gary Vaynerchuk has the best line ever with regard to video content. He says, if you have if you have an audience of 1, and this goes for your podcast as well, if you have an audience of 1, you've made it. Don't care about, it doesn't matter how many people are listening in. All it matters is that one person cares what you're doing. And if you can get to an audience of 1, you've made it. Sometimes people quit. They'll say, oh, my video only gets 15 views, or my video only gets 2,000 views, whatever their number is. But the day you stop is the day you may have realized that one of those views, one of those people tuning in each and every week was a powerful person in your industry that was just about to reach out to you. But then they go, oh, they're done with their videos, never mind. Or they're done with their podcast, never mind. So I've really enjoyed the content. I enjoy helping other people understand what I've learned from books, and we're going to keep up those videos. We've made a goal to do 100 weeks straight. So we're 14 in so far, I think.
Yeah, and I know you allowed to have requests.
Yeah, do you have any requests?
Yeah, I do. The One Thing, Gary Keller. I love that book. I would love to hear, your conclusion and your takeaways from it.
Yeah, I've actually read the book, so I really did enjoy it as well. I'll just tell you right now, my biggest takeaway from that book would be something that I think was pretty subtle within the book, but the domino effect. And it talks about gaining momentum, right? If you can knock over one little domino that makes everything in your life easier after it, awesome.
Yeah.
And then you knock over another domino and it makes everything after it a little bit easier. You kind of define where you'd like to execute and what you're about, and you keep taking small steps in the right direction, but they eventually become big steps. And you can't get there without the previous dominoes setting a good foundation. So I love the book, and I'll definitely do a video on it. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, and where can listeners connect with you?
Yeah, I think there are probably 3 good places. So Facebook, we are BookThinkers, so Facebook.com/BookThinkers. Same thing on Instagram. Our tag would be @BookThinkers. And we're posting a lot of really great content. We're just starting to ramp up our Instagram profile as of 2 weeks ago. So we're really excited to keep producing content. And then BookThinkers.com, or on the App Store 4 weeks from now, which will be the beginning of March. You can find us, BookThinkers. We'll be an app. We've got a little guy with black glasses and some orange page hair. So we're excited. We're excited to connect with anybody that would like to find out more about what we're doing.
Awesome, Nick. I'll put the links on the show notes also, but I really thank you for your time. And, please, like Gary, keep going. I'm one of them who's using your platform.
Well, I really do appreciate it, Alex, and thank you for having me on here today. I have listened to all of your podcasts so far, so I am subscribed. I look forward to hearing more about it, and you keep up the grind as well. I mean, you reached out to me on Instagram message, and I think you can find a lot of interesting people. And also, I'll extend the invitation. We'd love to come back another time. So if you ever need a guest, let us know. I have 2 other co-founders that have a very different take on what they read week to week and what their challenges are and what BookThinkers is doing for people. So I'd be more than happy to recommend them as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks again, Nick, and talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and many other platforms so you don't miss the next episode where I talk about how I built that reading muscle to read 105 books in 2017.